I think the two biggest guys that you and I were talking about as possible guys getting traded away, which is Breece Hall and Jermaine. I'm very curious to see what this is like for them as we go into the locker room this week, as we see them and talk to them, and as they try and take in this new environment where it's pretty out there that they were being, if not shopped around, that they were on the table to be traded. Like, these guys know that. Sounds
Very
like Breece
different.
maybe was okay with it. Yeah, two different situations for sure.
That's
But
exactly what I was going to say.
Jermaine Johnson literally tweeted a couple weeks ago that he's not leaving because the team told him that, and then they were very clearly answering the phone on him. So I don't know exactly what they told him, but it's going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see how they react.
Well, if they told him what they've told us, it's lies. So what does that matter? Like, they told him, they told him we're not trading him, and then they were taking calls all the way to the 11th hour to try to trade him. And this wasn't just answering the phone. They were calling. They were negotiating. It just didn't end up getting done. The two biggest differences, Zach, and you touched upon this briefly, is Jermaine didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
He didn't. He wants to stay with the Jets. He wants to be here. He wants to re-sign here. He doesn't want to leave the Jets. Breece Hall, all indications are, would welcome a change of scenery. In fact, there was a report out there working to confirm it that Breece wanted a change, that he, like Quinnen Williams, had requested a trade from the Jets and wanted to leave. And there was actually an emoji that followed that Tom Pelissero of NFL Network then screenshotted over him. That was basically Breece Hall with a crying emoji after the Jets realized, or after he realized the Jets were not going to trade him. So I don't think that will particularly go over super well in the locker room when you clearly have a guy that didn't want to be there. Where things stood on Jermaine Johnson and Breece Hall, from what I am told, there was an offer out there for a second-round pick on Jermaine Johnson. The Jets wanted a little bit more. They were unable to negotiate that with the team, so no trade happened, and Jermaine Johnson came back. With Breece Hall, there was an offer on the table for a fourth-round pick from Breece Hall. I was told that it was from the Kansas City Chiefs that were willing to trade for Breece Hall. The Jets were steadfast in wanting a 30. So they wanted a third-round pick for Breece Hall. They were not able to get one, only had a fourth-round offer. Jermaine Johnson, they had a second-round pick, wasn't something they were particularly interested in. And then I saw Josina Anderson report, which I don't know this, but it's what Josina said. Quincy Williams was also on the trade block as well for a fourth-round pick. They did not get that, so they let him go. Jermaine Johnson's under team control, Zach, with that fifth-year option. Not trading Breece and Quincy, in my opinion, those two guys now need to be extended. You need to extend those two guys and bring those guys back. Otherwise, it makes zero sense on why you did not deal them here at the deadline.
Yeah, I think compensatory picks, I feel like people don't entirely understand how those work. You don't get them next year. You get them the year after that. And they're not guaranteed. Yeah. And that also gets canceled out by free agents you sign. And the Jets are going to have over $80 million in cap space, and they're going to sign some guys this offseason. So,
holes
we actually did get a reader question from or listener, not reader. I'm used to being on The Athletic. Lou Giordano asked what the compensatory pick would be for Breece. Is it equivalent or better than the fourth they were being offered? Brandon Stevens is worth, according to Over the Cap, will be worth a fifth-round compensatory pick, and he's making $12 million a year. I don't think Breece is going to get more than that in free agency, so it would be a fifth-round pick even if they got a compensatory pick for him, I think. So, and I don't think Quincy's contract would be huge either because he's coming off injuries and not a great season. So, but yeah, to your point, if you weren't going to trade them, you need to resign one, if not both of them, I think. And it depends on the price. Like, you don't want to go crazy paying a running back. You can always franchise tag one of them if you want to. I don't know that I would do that, but if you let them go for nothing, it's not a great look when you already knew you were not going to keep them anyway. So that's going to be something we're going to have our eye on. I do wonder if they're open to keeping Breece Hall. He's looked pretty good lately. This is going to be a running team. I do think he's a good player. So we're going to find out if Breece wants to be here and if the Jets want him long term.
That's the big thing, is does Breece want to be here? Because he's another guy. Quinnen didn't say it. Quinnen was always the perfect soldier. And he was always going to grind, and he was going to fight, and he was going to do everything he could to help the Jets. But, internally, he was stewing. Hall internally and externally stews. And the incessant losing from this organization has taken its toll on him. And you can see that. You can see it when you talk to him, and now it's starting to fracture to the point where he's basically telling people, I want to be traded. Come get me, please. Somebody come get me. I want to be traded. Him now staying here and essentially Zach, when it comes to running backs, this isn't like a guard or a defensive lineman where the shelf life is significantly longer. Every carry that this guy takes, every hit that this guy takes, it takes off mileage of how long he's going to do it. For him to now be running his head in between a defensive line for a team that very clearly has zero intention of winning games this season. It's a unique dynamic and an interesting dynamic, and I'm not terribly sure how it's going to work out.
I mean, he's going to be motivated to just get some good stats now, is what I would say. Like, we're going to have. I'm very curious to see how the players respond to all this. Like, Aaron Glenn can go to the microphone and say everything we do is to win right now, but it's so clearly not to win right now anymore. And so, as much as like it's easy for us to talk about, this is a rebuild, what they do now doesn't matter. There are still guys in that locker room fighting for their jobs, fighting for their lives, trying to prove themselves, trying to prove they belong for next year. And their regime just kind of told them that this season doesn't matter anymore. So we're going to kind of find out how much Aaron Glenn's coaching and messaging gets through based more on the level of effort than the outcome, I would say. Like, how these games finish and what the final score is doesn't really matter anymore. But if it feels like the players have given up, then I'm going to be more concerned going into next year.